Dearly redheaded, we are choosing consciousness today to get through this thing called grief. Interesting word, grief. It means love, which makes for a mighty good joke. But I'm here to tell you, there's nothing else. Just joy. And if the big picture tends to bring you down, go crazy once your life goes. Woo!
All right, another episode with nephew. We're going to talk about our family's sick sense of humor. My own ego wants you to remind me what it was like. You've called me your favorite aunt. Can I admit that?
Sure.
All right. Well, now you don't sound so convinced. So fuck you. But anyway.
We'll say there was a period of time where, for sure, you were in that slot. I mean, I don't know if I can think of a better aunt than you, though. Still.
So talk to me about when I was driving the Celica. I was young, man. I was like 16, 17, 18 years old, and I guess your mother let me smoke cigarettes around you. Like, I don't know how I pulled that off, but I remember the ashtray overflowing, so I guess it wasn't a choice.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I just that was how we summed you up. You drove a Celica, you smoked cigarettes, and you listened to Prince. And you were wild. You were the wild card.
What made me wild?
I don't know, just the personality.
So I was always sort of out there?
Yeah. I mean, I even, it's hard for me. I was obviously a little kid during that time, but I showed you recently, I shared with you all those old home videos that I found, that I unearthed. You're just always joking around, always trying to have a good time, always smiling and laughing. That's what I remember about you. It's funny. I don't know. You might want to cut this story out, but I have a funny story for you that I remember, which just popped in my brain. You want to hear it?
Yes. Uh-oh.
And if you want to cut it out, you can cut it out. But there was a time where I was visiting one of our family members, and you were staying with them.
Okay.
And I was with your mother. And we were going to that house to visit. You didn't know I was coming. You thought just your mother was coming to visit, but I made the trip with her. And so I walk in the house.
More details. What house?
What's that?
More details. What house?
So we get to the house, and the family member who we're visiting said, "Oh yeah, Aunt Joe's upstairs." And I go upstairs. You think it's your mother, and you pop out of the bathroom and throw your towel off and say, "Mom," and then you realize it's me, and you flipped out like, "Oh my God," you're so mortified. You cannot believe you just did that in front of me.
I don't remember doing that.
So you can cut that story out if you want.
No, I could care less. I'm glad somebody saw what I had. It still talks to me. But anyway. That's really funny. I would absolutely have done that. And I would have been mortified because people would have thought that's something I would have done naturally. And as voyeuristic as the family was, that did not happen. meaning more attempts.
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny. That's funny. Well, lucky guy. Anyway. So, yeah, I don't remember doing that. Not at all. I would do things to my mother all the time, though. And I would do things, I loved doing naked things, but not weird. One of my favorite things to do was, like, if I was driving with your mother, too, though. Your mother was one I remember one time, you boys were little, we were out in Colorado. Maybe you weren't born yet. My father was still alive. And your mother mooned our father.
Sounds about right.
Yeah, I mean, and he just said, "You got pimples on your ass." That's all he said to her. But that used to be, we were big mooners. I used to moon up until relatively recently when I had the boys and someone would leave our house. We had to all drop chow when you folks were leaving.
That's where I got my mooning skills from.
I wonder if my kids would still do that. But anyway, all right. So, one of my favorite stories, and you talk about ruminating. I'll ruminate on a joke, and I have written. I think joke writing spared me so much grief. I've said before I've written thousands of jokes. I think one time I said hundreds of thousands, and I'm like, well, that's not fucking true. But I remember I was ruminating over the female equivalent of a cock block. This had me, and I had come up with Snatch Latch, and I called you, and you remember what you said?
No.
You said lip clip. You're not going to come up with anything better. Bye.
Are you sure that was me? I don't remember that.
Yes. Because you know how I know it was you? Because that other nephew of mine who's very funny, you two in my head are the two funniest, and you know how I mean.
Yeah.
And inevitably, he was good for rapid fire ideas. You were good with the one best idea.
Yeah.
That's how I remember your humor.
I'll take that.
Yeah, well, it's true. It's true. And then are you dialed into my boys' senses of humor, or not so much?
Not so much. I would say, the age difference is probably there.
Aw.
They use all the their generation lingo, and I'm like, I don't get what you guys are saying half the time.
The generation, the gaps seem more apparent. Like with the younger generations, there's so much has happened, between generations. It's harder to relate to one another. I find my kids really, really, really fucking funny. My youngest, the stories he tells and the interactions, he actually reminds me a lot of one of my brother, your uncles, the way he tells stories, like hysterical. And then my oldest, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, and I actually, like, when I talk to your kids, I would say they are typically smiling and laughing. Just funny naturally. Good.
We spent a lot of time laughing, especially when Grandma's alive. Holy shit.
Yeah.
She was just fodder, but boy, she could give it back. So it wasn't like it was unfair. Yeah. Anyway, we started to talk about when we were off air, and without too many details, that my siblings in particular, well, my parents too, though. I've called both my parents comedians. I think you know that.
Yeah.
And I don't think a comedian means you got to make $1 million and, be touring the country. I had a comedian say to me once, you write your first joke and you're off and away. And because I've written so many jokes, I never thought about getting it. Like, if I had to think about getting it out of me and getting it published, that would have been a problem. It was just getting it out of me. Mm-hmm. Again, when we were off air and we were talking about, let me just say it. My brothers, pretty comedic, pretty fucking funny. But I think, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, that sense of humor, when it gets to that level, is also tied to some type of trauma, rage. There's a relationship between what you've been through and where you go with your funny side. You agree?
Yeah, definitely.
I don't want to forget to share, and I'm not going to share what you do for a living, but may I say you're a musician?
Sure. Yeah.
And what do you want to say about that? You've been passionate about music ever since I can remember, right?
Yeah. I'd say, I started playing guitar close to 30 years ago. So I do everything now: guitar, bass, and drums. Write all my own songs.
I know you don't have a lot of time for it, so I'm sure that's kind of hard to talk about, maybe?
Oh, yeah, for sure. My relationship with it has changed, for sure. I used to think it was the most important thing in my life. I did for many, many years. I would say when I had kids, obviously it restricts your time, and then that is when it started becoming more stressful, right? Because when you're playing all the instruments, writing music for all the instruments yourself, and then doing all the mixing and engineering yourself, it is incredibly time consuming. And, having an hour here or there to go work on something is not really conducive to being artistic. It's just like, I need 48 hours in a row to really get a thought across and record it and mix it and stuff like that. And it's, so that's part of it. It started becoming a point of anxiety for me. Since having kids. And then the other side of it is one of my friends who I spoke about earlier, who I lost relationship with. We were very much intertwined musically in a relationship, musically, writing songs together. And since that relationship failed, I realized a lot of my love for writing music came from that partnership.
Collaborating.
And now that it's not there anymore, it kind of feels like there's a hole.
Disconnected. That speaks to desire to be connected.
Yep. So that's stuff I'm still working through. I'm still trying to figure out what it means. What does my future mean? In the music sense, in the artistic sense, I feel like I don't have outlets now. It's probably why I'm also super anxious, and it's like I don't have the outlet that I've had my entire life, the artistic outlet that I need. So that's something to battle with still.
I battle with writing because it doesn't provide the outlet because of the nature of what I write about. You know what my biggest outlet is? Driving, which reminds me of my father.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Yeah, I find that I have no problem. I'll get in a car and drive 3 hours by myself. No problem.
Well, why haven't you come then you can come and see me.
I will. I definitely will. It's on my list.
No, I love going to a strange place. And you probably remember, I got in a lot of trouble when I was young driving fast. Do you remember that? Oh, yeah. Do you really?
Yeah.
How? Did I speed with you?
Yeah. I remember, I don't know if I remember you telling me the story or my mom telling me the story about you getting a ticket for going 90 something in a 65. But I have a memory of that. My mom might have actually even gotten mad at you for driving fast with me in the car as well.
I'm sure she did, but I don't remember taking chances with you kids. That fucking story was right in Windsor. It was speed limits were 55 still. They weren't 65, and I got stopped going 97. I had at that point I had a little MR2. You remember that car?
Yeah.
That was and I got stopped going 97. I told my mother I was stopped going 73, and your mother told my mother I was going 97. I was like, why do that? And I remember the judge dropped it to 89 and brought it out as some higher caliber ticket or whatever. And I don't have as much of a lead foot anymore, But I do love to drive, and I do love to drive a standard. I got involved the other day. I was behind a vet, and I don't mean a war veteran. He might have been a vet, but it was just the person. Just I can't explain it, but we drove together for several miles, just winding, and it was like, wow, I've never gone on drives with anybody else, and I'm like, well, I knew I wouldn't want to be a lead car, but it was really fun following another car around, winding around the roads, and I just it's something I've always done alone. Anyway, side note. Hey, back to humor, because I knew I wanted to bring this up and I forgot. And you said you think it was another nephew of mine who used to tell me all the time women weren't funny.
Yeah.
But you agreed. You agreed. That like is something I grew up with, that women weren't funny. And not just from you kids. It was always men telling the jokes or the stories, and you'd had to. Although my other sister was great on telling stock jokes. I remember that, or street jokes. So everybody kind of had their own way of being funny.
Yeah. I think anymore. There's definitely a ton of funny women now. So I don't. If I did ever say that, I was probably in cahoots with your other nephew there, just trying to bust your balls.
Well, it's funny because I remember I wasn't. They couldn't bust my balls about being smart, so they went in the opposite direction, that I thought I was like the smartest person on earth, which I don't. So that fucking backfired. And then it was like the things that they ended up making fun of me the most over was fuck, I just fucking lost it again. Shit. They used to bust my balls about my weight a lot. And what else? There was something else. Fuck. Oh, I don't know. A lot of ball busting going on.
Yeah.
I remember in recent years, did I ever share with you? I probably didn't. Like over the years, I never wanted to be on SNL, but I would love to be able to write skits or bits. And did I ever tell you about the skits I wrote? This I actually got out of my head and actually wrote some shit down because it was so intriguing to me. I wanted to write an exchange between Greta Thunberg and Trump. Like that, was my G-spot. Like I pictured them both in bed at night, calling one another and talking over the phone. And that to me was, you know who she is, right?
Yeah, that sounds like an SNL skit right there.
Yeah, and right up my fucking alley. I know what I want to say. You turned me on to CK 100 years ago.
Really?
Yeah.
You're crediting me for turning you on to Louis CK?
Absolutely.
That's fantastic. I'll take it.
Yeah, it would have been you or the other nephew, but you were always the one that seemed to be more involved with following comedians, no?
Yeah, oh yeah, for sure. I don't know how many albums he has now, but I used to, when I lived in another state, I would have to drive home to visit my family. It was about a 5.5 hour drive, and I went through a period of time for maybe a couple of years where I would, download a comedy album, burn it on CD, and that's all I had in my car during the drive, and I would
You burned a CD for me. You burned a CD for me. And I don't.
Yeah, so I have a ton of Louis C.K. albums that I just listen to over and over and over again.
Do you forgive him for his deviant behavior?
It's weird, It's like I wasn't there. I'm
wondering how somebody didn't get a picture. Get your camera out. Get a picture of that thing.
Yeah. But no, as we discussed though recently, he was on Theo Vaughn's podcast and kind of talked about it openly for the first time, and I thought that was really awesome. And actually, the end of one of his specials, I forget which special it is, but he makes a joke about it, and he says, we all, I don't know, I'm paraphrasing, right? He said, we all got kinks. Now you know what mine is. You know what I mean? Like.
Yeah.
So sucks for him.
Yeah, I was kind of leading towards, you had said that listening to Theo Vaughn and CK made you a little emotional because they were, go ahead.
Yeah, it did. My eyes welled up with tears. And I think even during that episode, Theo Vaughn is crying. But just something about people being like open and honest, especially when it's like something that's serious and that public, is very moving to me. I strive to be as open and honest as I possibly can, sometimes to my own detriment, right? Like I could be too honest and fuck up relationships or whatever. But that is like,
I have no experience with that.
Yeah. But no, that is, I might not agree with everything you say since you just brought that up, but it's like, I appreciate that you're saying what is real to you, right? That means something to me.
Do I make you feel like you have to agree?
No, you don't at all.
Good.
And as you know, we
fucking answer there, nephew. Good fucking answer.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm striving to speak the truth too. You know what I mean? I don't. There's so many people who I've interacted with in my life who are sheltered and afraid. And hey, guess what? We're all afraid. Everybody is. You don't need to like lock it up and act like you're somebody that you're not, or not. Not tell people how you're feeling. I don't get that. Doesn't make sense in my brain. So anyways, I really appreciate it when other people can just kind of talk openly.
Yeah, I think what they did, I sometimes say, and I don't relate it to, I don't do I'm very good with synthesis when I'm writing. I'm not great with synthesis when I'm just talking. But I think what they did as men, being so honest about something that's so rampant, but it's the elephant in the room. They talked about it. They kind of then as comedians, they kind of give other people freedom to talk about it, which I think is the responsibility of comedians. So good for them. But what I went to as a woman, they talked about, I think it's the Sex Love Addicts Anonymous, SLAA.
Yeah.
And then I came away from that, and this is serious, not comedic. I'm like, so what is it that women do? And it's like, I'm generalizing, I'm stereotyping, but we, as especially those of us who have been through tremendous covert abuse, we are like devotion addicts. And I think it's just, I tried last week to have that part of the conversation. And also, and I'm not trying to gross you out or weird you out, but also being in a long-term covert abusive relationship that happens to also be sexual, how it creates like a problem in the brain, because a part of you knows that there's bigger problems, but you become like a consensual contributor to your own abuse in a domestic relationship. And we don't fucking talk about that, Yeah. So what the men are thinking about and, and what the women are talking about, it's pretty fucked up. And unless you talk about what people are bringing to the table in romantic relationships, it's that's when you can make fun of it. I mean, now I can make fun of myself because of what I did. I've said I'd love to write my book and then have somebody roast me for all the fucking shit I did to myself, which is fucked up. Yeah. But I mean, I don't know how else to get the poison out.
Yeah.
I thought of two. You and I talked. I told you that I had met Lisa Lampanelli a couple times, and remember when I told you she called another nephew for me?
Yeah.
And I remember she called him, and I didn't tell you this. He had played. Well, let me not go there. But I remember the first thing she said to him was she called him a cornholer. So that just a little side note. All right, we just hit 25 minutes. I hope that we will do a fourth episode. Are you up for a fourth?
Yeah, sure.
All right, because I can't tell because I have ADHD. You have ADHD. How you doing, Brian?
I'm just here. I'm here, listening, taking it all in.
At this point, I mean, Brian's he's gotta be like, yeah, I've heard all this a million times.
I might only have like 20 HD instead of all 80 of them.
Okay, that's going over my head.
ADHD, ADHD, 80 HD.
Oh,
you know, I don't know what the hell HD is, but the doctor says I have 80 of it. You never heard that?
No.
Oh my goodness.
No.
You're supposed to be a comedian.
Yeah, supposed to be. Supposed to be. I am. I am a comedian who hasn't written a joke in a while.
I can't believe I never saw that thing. It's like a video, like a hillbilly guy. I don't know what the hell HD is, but the doctor says I have 80 of them.
That's cute. In context, it's very cute.
It's very cute. This is what goes on in my brain all day long.
Yeah.
Told you, I'm a child.
Brian's actually he participates a lot when needed. But you just made me think of something. I had a dream last night, but I want to lead with it in the next episode.
All right, then.
Thank you for listening and supporting Natural Born Redhead. If you follow the bouncing balls, please like and subscribe. If you know someone interested in sparing others grief and inciting joy, message me on Facebook or reach out via my website, Natural Born Redhead. J-Ma.